Across America this week, in the midst of a nationwide heatwave, homeowners are being urged to restrict their use of air conditioning to reduce energy consumption and to protect the national grid. At the same time, however, AI companies are springing up, opening huge energy hungry server farms just so users can create images of women with unfeasibly large breasts. This is a prime example of the right hand and the left hand being at odds. And nowhere is that left versus right hand conflict more evident than in the sphere of demolition and construction. Think about the government's ambitious plans to build 1.5 million new homes within the next 5 years. It made for great headlines, and frankly, who could possibly argue about such a significant improvement to the nation's housing stocks? Appropriately, given that this is a Labour government, that was the left hand. On the right, however, the picture looked markedly different. Those laudable yet flawed plans made no allowance for the severe lack of workers required to build those houses. It made no allowance for a planning system that makes continental drift appear positively swift. It made no allowance for shortcomings in the nation's energy infrastructure and a sewage and wastewater system that is already crumbling under the strain of current demand. Now, had the left hand, the government, taken the time and had the good sense to speak to the right hand, the construction industry, Keir Starmer, Angela Rayner, and the rest of the government might not have made promises they had no hope of fulfilling. Maybe they wouldn't now be scrambling to attract more construction workers to help remove the egg from the government's collective faces. Another conversation that should have taken place but which clearly didn't is the one around embodied carbon. For decades, the demolition industry, under orders from legislators and environmentalists, have perfected the art of materials reuse and recycling. They've turned recycling into an art form. Each year, the industry ploughs millions of tons of vital and valuable secondary materials back into the supply chain. Well, parts of the supply chain, because those valuable secondary materials are valuable only in certain applications. Despite this, the demolition industry soldiered on, safe in the knowledge that its recycling activities were making a positive contribution to the sustainability struggle. But then that familiar right hand made its presence felt. Suddenly, recovering materials, rather than being a benefit, was a problem. It was destroying the embodied carbon contained within the buildings and the materials of which they're made. To make matters worse, we learned yesterday that reserves of virgin materials are down 46%. With the construction sector being a bit sniffy about secondary materials and with virgin aggregates in short supply, just how is the nation to build all these homes, those hospitals, those schools, roads, and railways? And these are not isolated examples. As a nation, we started to close waste landfills, once again to safeguard the environment. A positive left hand move. The problem is that with fewer and fewer landfills, waste now has to be hauled further, burning diesel as it's hauled, and thereby negating any environmental gains. We added a landfill tax to discourage waste disposal and to encourage greater levels of materials reuse and recycling. What it actually did was spawn greater levels of waste crime and turned fly tipping into a national pastime. The construction industry, the left hand, is struggling to find sufficient skilled workers to maintain current workloads and to attract more to hit the workload targets of the future. So, what does the right hand do? It removes grandfather rights on a key competence card scheme, effectively penalising some of the sector's most experienced and valuable workers and pushing many of them into premature retirement. Not only have we lost the best workers of this and previous generations, we've wasted the knowledge they could have imparted to the next generation. Not only do we have too few industry newcomers, but now we have too few people to help train and mentor them. Over here, the demolition and construction industry is earmarked as the sector to lead the nation out of a post COVID and post Brexit financial crisis. Over there, some smartass decides to remove the subsidy on red diesel, the very lifeblood of the industry. Not only did that raise costs for the very people charged with rejuvenating the nation, it also increased the levels of fuel theft. The left hand is over here, chuntering on about the road to zero emissions and the death of diesel fuel. Meanwhile, the right hand is over there, looking at the proposed electric and hydrogen replacements, thinking, we're not ready. Electric machines are expensive. They require recharging in the middle of the day. We have no idea what their resale value might look like. And Lord alone knows what we're going to do with all those spent batteries. To further muddy the waters, we have the as yet unfulfilled promise of hydrogen fueled equipment. But once again, we have no idea how much a hydrogen machine might cost, how long it might last, what we might do with a hydrogen fuel cell once it's beyond its sell by date, and best of all, we have no idea where we might fill up with hydrogen or how much that fuel might actually cost. The left hand of the industry wants more women on site. The right hand perpetuates the sexist tropes of yesteryear, making women feel about as welcome on site as a snake in a lucky dip. The left hand of the industry makes noises about suicide and mental health awareness among its workforce. Meanwhile, the right hand continues to heap stress upon the shoulders of those very workers while undermining their financial and job security. Time and time and time again, in our haste to extinguish one fire, we merely spark up another. We solve one problem, and we create more. At every turn, the UK demolition and construction industry is divided into tiny silos, each of them pulling in different directions. And yet, if we could just bring the left hand and the right hand together, it might just result in applause.